ॐ नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तन्तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि। Chapter 2, Shloka 21, Bhāshya. We will read the shloka. Veda vinashinam nityam ya enamajamavyayam कथं सपुरुषः पार्थ कङ्घातयति हन्तिकम्। The following portion of the discussion is based on a shloka from chapter 5. Chapter 5, Shloka 13. Sarvakarmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. This shloka negates the possibility of karma of a jnani. Naiva kurvanna karayan. Sarva karmani sanyasya. Naiva kurvanna karayan. Negates all karmas of a jnani. Bhāshyakara Siddhanti quoted this shloka. When Siddhanti quotes the shloka in support of karma sannyasa, sarva karma sannyasa, Purva Pakshi raises an objection. Purva Pakshi says, in this shloka, there is a word manasa. He draws Siddhanti's attention to manasa. See, we will read. Nanu manasa iti vachanat na vachikanam कायिकानांच संन्यास इति चेत ननु ऑब्जेक्शन मनसा इति वचनात् because of the usage of the word manasa, because of saying manasa sannyasya, because of this, the sannyasa of only manasa karma is intended and not the sannyasa of kayika karma and vachika karma. There are three types of karmas. कायिक कर्म और शारीर कर्म physical activities, digging, cleaning, sweeping, all those are sharira karma or kayika karma, physical activities. And then there is vachika karma, speaking, chanting. It is vachika karma. Then there is manasa karma, mental activities, thinking, imagining, vachika karma, manasa karma. And even the upasanas are manasa karma. There are 3 types of karmas. In the shloka, sarva karmani manasa sanyasya, the word manasa is there. If Krishna had intended renunciation of all karmas, he wouldn't have used the word manasa. He would have just said sarva karmani sanyasya. Why the word manasa? Purvapakshi makes use of the word manasa. Because of the word manasa, he intends the giving up of only manasa karma, not sharira karma and vachika karma. Vachikanam kayikanancha sanyasaha na. There is a na, vachanat na. Vachika and kayika karma, their sannyasa is not mentioned by Bhagavan. Iti chet, if it is so, objection. Then Siddhanta, na sarva karmani iti visheshitatvat. Siddhanti says, no, your objection is not correct, because Krishna clearly says sarva karmani. The word sarva will become redundant if you say manasa karma. Manasa karma is not sarva karma. All karmas. Sarva karmani sanyasya. There is sarva. Therefore, Krishna intends even kayika karma and vachika karma also. Then Purvapakshi raises one objection again. Manasanamiva sarva karmanam iti chet. The sarva karma means only manasa sarva karma. All manasa karmas. That can be the meaning of sarva karmani manasa. All manasa karmas you give up. Not all physical and verbal activities. Manasanam eva sarva karmanam sanyasaha iti chet. Only manasa karmas, all karmas. You give up all mental activities. Don't think, just work. Iti chet. Then Siddhanti says, it is not possible. Na manovyapara purvakatvat vakkaya vyaparanam manovyapara bhave Tadanupapattehe. No, your objection is not correct. Your interpretation is not correct. Because if there is no manasa vyapara, even vachika vyapara and kayika vyapara are not possible. If all mental activities are given up, then one will have to give up both physical as well as verbal activities also. Because without thinking, we cannot do any physical activity also. Manovyapara purvakatvat vakkaya vyaparanam. Vakkaya vyaparanam. Vagvyapara and kaya vyapara. Verbal activity as well as physical activity, bodily activity, they are preceded by manovyapara. Manovyapara purvakatvat. Manovyaparaha purvaha yasmat saha manovyapara purvakaha tasya bhavaha tattvam. Manovyapara purvakatvam tasmat manovyapara purvakatvat. Bahuvrihi samasa, then tva pratyaya. Therefore, manovyapara abhave tadanupapattehe. If manovyapara is not there, then vakkaya vyapara is not possible at all. Therefore, your interpretation, only manasa sarva karma sannyasa, is not correct. Then Purvapakshi gives one more interpretation. Somehow he wants to establish that karma is there even for a jnani. Shastriyanam vakkaya karmanam karanani manasani varjayitva anyani sarvakarmani manasa sanyaset iti chet. Purvapakshi says, the sarvakarma sannyasa, all mental activity, he first said all mental activities. But now Siddhanti said, if all mental activities are given up, then physical activities are not possible. Verbal activities are not possible. Therefore, all mental activities are given up. That cannot be the interpretation. In that case, the manasa will become redundant. He could have just said all activities. Because if all mental activities are given up, it's as good as giving up all the activities. And then Purvapakshi modifies his interpretation. The mental activities which are necessary for shastriya karma should be retained, with the exception of the mental activities that are required to perform shastriya karma. All other mental activities should be given up. That is the meaning, that is the intention of Bhagavan. This is another interpretation. Shastriyanam vakkaya karmanam karanani. manasani karmani. The manasa karma, the mental activities which are the karana, which are the cause of all vakaya karmas, all the verbal and physical activities which are shastriya, which are enjoined in the shastra. Varjayitva, with the exclusion of this kind of karma, with the exception of such manasa karma, anyani sarva karmani, all other sarva karmas, all other karmas, manasa sanyaset, one should give up manasa, means one should give up the mental activities other than the mental activities that are needed for shastriya karma. Iti chet, this is Purva Paksha. Here Purva Pakshi is doing sankocha of Krishna's statement. Krishna's statement is sarva karmani manasa sanyasya. All karmas should be given up. But Purva Pakshi contracts the scope of sarva karma. With the exception of shastriya karma. Means only ashastriya karma should be given up. That will be the idea according to Purva Pakshi. Then Siddhanti says, Na naiva kurvanna karayan iti visheshanat. No, this interpretation is also not possible, because later on in the same shloka, Krishna says, Naiva kurvanna karayan. Naiva kurvan, without doing. Na karayan, without causing any action through others. Without being the causal agent also. This is mentioned in the same shloka. Iti visheshanat. This description of a jnani is found. Therefore, you cannot say he performs shastriya karma. With the exception of shastriya karma, other karmas are given up. That means he has to perform shastriya karma. But later on Krishna himself says, Naiva kurvanna karayan. He is neither doing nor he is making others do. That means even shastriya karma is not possible. If he is not doing anything, then how can he perform shastriya karma? Therefore, no action. Sarva karma sanyasaha ayam bhagavata uktaha marishyataha na jivataha iti chet. Now Purva Pakshi puts forward another possible interpretation to save himself, to save his contention. He is trying to interpret Bhagavad-Gītā as he likes, in his favor. This is called a text torturing. Ayam sarvakarma sanyasaha. This sarvakarma sannyasa, which Krishna says, it is not for a living person. Na jivataha. It is not for a living person, but for marishyataha. Marishyataha, for a dying person. When he dies, he leaves all the karmas. Bhagavata uktaha. It is told by Bhagavan. Iti chet, if it is so. Then Siddhanti says, Na navadvare pure dehi aste iti visheshananupapattehe. It is not meant for a dying person. A dying person is anyway giving up karma. After death, he cannot keep performing karma. So, Purvapakshi's interpretation does not really make any sense. But Siddhanti doesn't say that. He says, in the shloka itself, there is clear indication that the sarvakarma sannyasa that is talked about is for a living person. No, it is not so. Because in the very same shloka, Krishna clearly says, Navadvare pure dehi aste. He remains in Navadvara pura deha, in the body which has 9 openings. He sits, he resides. Navadvara pure dehe aste or dehi aste? Dehe aste. Dehi aste. Oh, that's fine. Navadvara pure dehi aste. A dehi resides in Navadvara pura deha. Both are needed. Dehi. Even dehi conveys the same idea. He has a body. He is in the body. And he sits in the body. So dehi, the word dehi as well as Navadvara pure dehe aste, both convey the same idea. What? He is in the body. He is not leaving the body. While being in the body, he is free from karma. Iti visheshananupapattehe. If your interpretation is accepted, only a dying person gives up all the karmas. If this interpretation is accepted, then this visheshana, this description, Navadvare pure dehe aste, is not possible. It cannot be justified. Iti visheshana anupapattehe. This description becomes unjustifiable, becomes untenable. Anupapatti. Bhāshyakara explains, Nahi sarvakarma sannyasena mritasya taddehe asanam sambhavati akurvataha akarayatascha. Sarvakarma sannyasena mritasya, one who has died while giving up all the karmas. Taddehe asanam akurvataha akarayatascha, without doing and without causing any action. Taddehe asanam, living in the same body, na sambhavati. That is why it is anupapanna. The anupapatti is being shown now. Navadvare pure dehe aste. This visheshana is not proper, cannot be justified. Why it cannot be justified? It is explained in this statement. one who has already died, and then he is giving up all the karmas, then you cannot say he is residing in the body. Because a dead person cannot live in the body. He has already given up the body. Sarva karma sannyasena mritasya. One who has died while giving up all the karmas. Tad dehe asanam na sambhavati. He cannot reside in the body. Akurvataha akarayatascha. This is qualifying mritasya. Then Purvapakshi suggests one more possibility. Dehe sanyasya iti sambandhaha na dehe aste iti chet. Dehe sanyasya iti sambandhaha. Let us change the anvaya of the shloka. Purvapakshi says, how did we do the anvaya? Sarva karmani manasa sanyasya. Sarva karmani sanyasya dehe aste. Navadvarapure dehe aste. That is how we did the anvaya. So, dehe, saptami vibhakti, in the body, it is adhikarana of sitting, aste. He sits in the body, means he resides in the body. That is how we did the anvaya. And sanyasya, sarva karmani sanyasya, by giving up all the karmas. That is the meaning we gave. Purvapakshi says, the word sanyasya, let us change the meaning. Let us not take sanyasya means giving up. Then what does he mean? See, sanyasya, according to him, it should be understood as keeping, placing. Nikshipya. Sanyasya is equal to nikshipya, keeping all the karmas in the body. A jnani keeps all the karmas in the body. Dehe sanyasya. His anvaya changes. Keeping all the karmas in the body. Dehe is not adhikarana of aste. Dehe is not locus of sitting, according to him. Instead, dehe is adhikarana of nikshipya, sanyasya. Dehe sanyasya. That is how you have to do the anvaya, according to Purvapakshi. Sarva karmani dehe sanyasya dehi sukham aste. Sarva karmani navadvare pure dehe sanyasya dehi sukham aste. Dehi is not sitting in the body. Dehi is leaving the karmas in the body before going. He is dying, and while dying, he takes all the karmas and he keeps them in the body, and then he goes. That is Purvapakshi's idea. Aste. He resides elsewhere, not in the body. See, dehe sanyasya iti sambandhaha. The sambandha, connection of the words, should be understood differently. How? Dehe sanyasya, leaving the karmas in the body. Dehe nikshipya. Na dehe aste, not dehe aste, iti chet. If it is so, then Siddhanti says, na sarvatra Atmanaha avikriyattvavadharanat. Yeah. Your meaning cannot be taken, Siddhanti tells Purva Pakshi, because according to Purva Pakshi, before dying Atma has karma, and at the time of dying Atma leaves the karmas in the body, keeps the karmas in the body and goes. This meaning could have been possible if Atma had karma before dying. But unfortunately, Atma never has karma. Atma Swarupa is always avikriyaha. When Atma is avikriyaha, Atma cannot have karma. If Atma does not have karma, how can it place all the karmas in the body? Only if I have something, I can keep it somewhere. If I don't have something, if I don't have a pot, I cannot keep the pot on the table. Likewise, when the Atma does not have any karma of its own, at the time of dying, how can it keep the karma in the body? It does not make sense. No, it is not so, because sarvatra, everywhere, sarvatra means shrutau smrutau cha, in shruti as well as in smriti. Atmanaha avikriyattvavadharanat. Atma is avikriyaha. Atma is free from changes. It is ascertained. Avadharanat. Since the avikriyatva of the Atma is ascertained in all Shruti and Smriti, therefore Atma cannot have karma, therefore it cannot keep the karma in the body. This is one reason why Purva Pakshi's interpretation is not correct. He gives another reason also. Sannyasa, the word sannyasa does not have the meaning of keeping. The word nyasa has the meaning of keeping. Nyasyati. Nyasyati means keeps. Nyasta. Nyasta means kept. Nyasaha means keeping. But when some upasarga is added to nyasa dhatu, some ni as, it is not nyasa dhatu, some ni as, ni plus as becomes nyasa, nyasyati. With the ni upasarga, see, as dhatu, what is as? As has the meaning of to throw. Asyati, throws. With the ni upasarga, it has the meaning of to keep. Nyasyati, he keeps. But when one more upasarga is added, some upasarga, some plus ni plus as, then it gets the meaning of giving up. With the some upasarga as well as ni upasarga, it cannot have the meaning of keeping. Only with the ni upasarga it has the meaning of keeping or placing. Therefore, you cannot take the meaning of keeping for the word sannyasa, sannyasya. Therefore, Sannyasa should be understood as Sannyasya should be understood as giving up. That is the meaning of sannyasya. And giving up does not need an adhikarana. The action of giving up does not need an adhikarana. Instead, the other dhatu which is present in the shloka, aste, as dhatu. Aste means sits. Sitting needs an adhikarana. Where does he sit? It needs a place. Without a place, one cannot sit. But without a place, one can give up. Therefore, dehe is adhikarana. Navadvare pure dehe, saptami vibhakti indicates adhikarana. And the adhikarana should be connected with a dhatu, an action which needs an adhikarana, not with an action which does not need an adhikarana. Therefore, you cannot say dehe sanyasya, dehe aste is a proper connection. See, read. Asanakriyayaśca adhikaranapekshatvat tadanapekshatvacha sannyasasya sampurvastu nyasa shabdaha tyagarthaha na niksheparthaha sampurvastu nyasa shabdaha tyagarthaha. Sam upasarga nyasa shabda. Nyasa means ni as ghanya nyasa. Ghanya pratyaya. Bhave ghanya. Bhava vyutpatti. Nyasaha. Sam ni as ghanya. Sampurva nyasa shabda. Nyasa has the meaning of keeping. But when some upasarga is there, it has the meaning of tyaga, giving up, renunciation. Na niksheparthaha. It is never used in the sense of nikshepa, keeping or placing. Therefore, it does not need an adhikarana. Sannyasa, sanyasya does not need an adhikarana. But the other one, aste, which refers to asana kriya. Asana kriya needs an adhikarana. Asana kriyayascha adhikaranapekshatvat. Asana kriya requires an adhikarana. Therefore, tad anapekshatvacha sannyasasya. Sannyasa, giving up, does not really need an adhikarana. Therefore, dehe aste, not dehe sanyasya. Therefore, none of your interpretations are correct. Therefore, our interpretation alone is correct. Tasmat Gītā Shastre Atmajnanavataha Sannyase eva Adhikaraha न कर्मणि इति तत्र तत्र उपरिष्टाद् आत्मज्ञानप्रकरणे दर्शयिष्यामः तस्मात्. Therefore, concluding, Bhāshyakara is concluding the discussion. Gita Shastre, in Gita Shastra, Atmajnanavatah Sanyase eva adhikara. An Atmajnani has adhikara only in karma sannyasa, only in giving up karma, na karmani, not in karma. An Atmajnani is not expected to do karma. Iti, this point, tatra tatra, here and there, in various places, uparishtat, further ahead, in the following portion of the Gita, here and there, in the following portion of this chapter, as well as in the other chapters, 3rd chapter, 4th chapter, here and there, you come across this discussion. There are Gita statements, as well as Bhāshyakara himself will explain the same point. Atmajnana prakarane tatra tatra darshayishyamaha. In Atmajnana prakarana, in Gita, there are sections dealing with Atmajnana. In all such places, Krishna will also indicate that a jnani does not have karma. And Bhāshyakara says, Darshayishyamaha, we will also show the same thing. Bhāshyakara will also elaborate on the same point again and again, that a jnani is free from karma. Naishkarmya siddhim paramam sannyasena adhigacchati. There are many such statements. A jnani is free from karma. So now, prakritam tu vakshyamaha. Now Bhāshyakara says, we had enough of discussion. Purva Pakshi is still sitting there. And he says, we had enough discussion, tangential discussion, not really connected to, not directly connected to our present topic. Now he says, prakritam tu vakshyamaha. Now we will speak about prakrita, the topic under discussion. We will continue our regular study, regular discussion, leaving the distraction behind. Tatra atmanaha avinashitvam pratijñātam tat kimiva iti uchyate. Tatra, there means in the previous shloka and preceding shlokas. Atmanaha avinashitvam pratijñātam. The avinashitva of Atma was mentioned. Pratijñātam, it was stated. And now, tat kim iva, the avinashitva is like what? An example for the avinashitva of the Atma. how the Atma survives in spite of the death of the body, in spite of the changes of the body. How the Atma remains unchanged despite the changes in the body. Krishna explains with an example. Uchyate, it is being said, Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya Navani grinhati naroparani Tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani Anyani sanyati navani dehi The example of cloth, worn out cloths. As an individual throws away worn out clothes and takes up new clothes, likewise an individual, Atma, gives up old bodies, worn out bodies, decrepit bodies, and takes up new bodies. Just like an individual does not change with the change of the cloth. If an individual changes with the change of the cloth, every day we will find new people here. The clothes change, but the person does not change. Likewise, the bodies change, but Atma does not change. See the verse. Yatha. Yatha means it is the example. Whatever is said after Yatha is example. Just as Naraha, a human being, Jirnani vasamsi vihaya, giving up, vihaya. Vihaya means tyaktva, giving up. Vi upasarga ohak tyage dhatu, lyap pratyaya. Vihaya, giving up old clothes. Jirnani vasamsi. Jirnani means old, worn out. Vasamsi means vastrani, clothes. Aparani navani granhati. Aparani, other clothes, which are navani, which are new or fresh. Granhati, accepts, puts on. Tatha. Tatha onwards is darshtanta. Yatha onwards it is drishtanta. Tatha is darshtanta. Dehi. Dehi, Atma. Jirnani vasamsi vihaya. Jirnani sharirani vihaya. Giving up the worn out clothes or worn out bodies. Jirnani sharirani, the decrepit bodies, vihaya, giving them up. That is death. Death is nothing but giving up the old, torn, deteriorating body. That is death. When the jiva finds that this body is no longer useful, then there is a mechanism which makes the jiva leave this body. Otherwise, the jiva may stay. Suppose there was no mechanism to leave the body, the jiva would have stayed in a very, deteriorating and that dirty, disgusting body. Jiva would have stayed, and finally it would have become a skeleton, and still jiva is there. How pathetic it would have been. That is why there is a mechanism. When some real problem happens in the body, jiva can no longer stay comfortably in the body, the jiva takes off. And the taking off also happens because of udana vayu. It is one function of the prana. Udana functions when the jiva leaves the body. In fact, all parts of Sukshma Sharira. See, when we are awake and alive, our Sukshma Sharira is sitting in different parts of the Sthula Sharira. Every part of Sukshma Sharira is sitting in its own office. My Chakshurindriya is sitting in the eyeball. It is called Golaka. The components of Sthula Sharira, which facilitates the functioning of a given component of Sukshma Sharira, is called Golaka. So this is Golaka, the location, the locus where my Chakshurindriya functions. The Chakshurindriya is Sukshma. You cannot see the Indriya. Indriya is Sukshma. We never see the Indriya. But Indriya functions through the Golaka. Eyeballs, retina, it is Golaka. Likewise, this is Golaka for Shrotrendriya. The ear lobe is Golaka for the Shrotrendriya. So now all senses are sitting in their respective Golakas. That is how the body is functioning. But when the time of departure comes, all components of Sukshma Sharira, they withdraw from their Golaka and they get into prana. They get into prana. It is like, when someone has to vacate a place, evacuate a place, they will all go and sit in a vehicle, in an aeroplane, and then the aeroplane takes off. Likewise, all components of Sukshma Sharira sit in the prana. withdrawing from their respective golakas. Then the prana engine starts. Udana is the driver of prana for the ultimate departure. Even the other pranas will stop. Prana, apana, vyana, samana, everything will stop. Only udana becomes active. Then udana takes off. Last breath. Udana has taken off. And with udana, all other sukshma sharira moves out. So that is how leaving the body happens. Then it will go and it will get into another body. That is another story altogether. So, Dehi Jirnani Sharirani Vihaya, giving up the Jirna body, giving up the worn out body, Anyani Navani Sanyati, he enters into new ones, Navani, which are different from this body. So the idea is that even when the body changes, the Atma remains unchanged. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.